I'll wait for the preview.
Yeah, it's still
rock and roll. I gotta switch to Zoom on the phone.
Hello to this beautiful community of ours.
okay. Hello, everybody. I know there's already some people probably watching.
Oh, sorry guys.
It's okay.
Just got to get my, there we go. That should work.
Where did you go?
Okay. I don't know. I had to switch to my phone.
Oh,
You cannot choose virtual. Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Okay. How's that? Can you see me?
You're like a talking head. It's great.
I love it.
Sorry.
Like a bobblehead.
Okay, cool. Sorry. I forgot about I had to switch to my phone before, because the live stream's on the computer and then I got to switch the phone. So thank you guys for those that are watching for your patience. Okay, here we go. Rock and roll. Okay. And then I'm going to click go live on Instagram. Okay. Go live.
Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. We are just getting all our tech stuff sorted as we do.
Rock and roll. Okay, we're good to go. What's up, guys? Yes. Welcome. First of all, thank you for those that were tuned in earlier while we got our technicalities dialed in. And thank you guys for tuning in on Instagram so quick. We just got like a flood of a bunch of people. So thank you so much for the love and support and being here to just share this space with us. I think it's really amazing, at this time with the acceleration of consciousness, everything that is coming to the surface, that we do talk about these things, being, galactic hybrids, ETs, and then obviously we have a little bit of light language at the end for you, but it's really important for us to tap into our galactic roots. So I feel like that's kind of the fundamental core reason why, the five of us are gathered here today to, share this information and to give people insight too, as to some of the things they can look out for to identify within themselves, some of their galactic roots and whatnot. So thank you guys for being here. And obviously we'll go up the line. Althea, such a pleasure having you. Thank you for everything you do. And
such a pleasure having you.
No, thank you. Oh,
We echoing a little bit.
No,
Yep.
I turned the volume down. I got it. I was just opening up so I could answer questions.
okay. I was like, oh no, I gotta grab another device.
No.
And Sarah, it's so great to have you back from Egypt. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
I would love to ask you some questions about that. That is so cool. How was that?
Amazing, like totally amazing. Thank you for asking, but no, I'm so happy to do things like this because everyone's so hungry for information and so hard to find information. And it's great when people can get together and share and what they do know and try to help other people. So I appreciate you guys getting this together.
Oh, you're the best. We appreciate you, and I appreciate you. I think that I know I said this last time, but everything you do is just so inspirational and like really helping people to regress into, tapping into that information is just like next level. That's just like beyond amazing. So thank you for all you do
Thank you.
to shed light on these facets of, once again, the collective consciousness. And Nina, pleasure as always. Nina the Andromedan. What's up, sister?
Not much. I'm excited to dive deep and hopefully we bring some clarity, to people that are wondering like, what are hybrids? What does it mean if I am one? How do I tell if I am one? All of those.
Exactly. I know. I'm super excited to dive in. Yeah, and thankfully I have my list this time, so it'll be a little bit more structured. And of course, Natalie, how are you?
Greetings. Thanks. I'm well. Thank you very much. Great to see everybody.
It is a pleasure. Okay, cool. So I guess I'll just jump in right away. So just as like a recap, I know we touched on this in the beginning of part one, but we're just going to jump in with, so today we're going to be talking a lot about genetic hybrids, hybrid souls, embodiments, and then we'll kind of get into how people can identify if they are one of those, some of the signs you can look out for, and then also like, what does that mean? So this is just an open-ended question for anybody. It's not directed to anyone in particular, but if you guys want to just jump in, let us know like the difference between a genetic hybrid and a hybrid soul. Like I said, I know we touched on that last time, but we'll just kind of give a quick overview just for clarity going forward in this part two.
Sarah, you want to touch on the genetic?
Okay. There's many different types of hybrids. According to my understanding, there's some hybrids that are well aware that they are hybrids. They receive communication constantly. For a lot of people that don't really understand what's happening, they think they're just crazy, but they feel information coming to them and they might brush it off, but they're actually being communicated with, sometimes by another version of themselves. Some types of hybrids are created in laboratories on ships, and that's like a different type than the kind that is embodying into a human being in order to raise the consciousness. Some of these hybrids that are created on ships have the potential to seed other places, other planets, because there's multi-planets within this whole, universe and universes. There's just so many different hybrids, but the thing is to not discount the things that you believe to be true, because it doesn't matter what other people tell you about yourself. It only matters what you yourself believe. And a lot of people are starting to understand who they really are, but they're told they're crazy, and it's not the case.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would.
So from my understanding and the experience that I had, obviously I could speak only from personal experience and what I've been through. I actually have I'm part of a hybrid genetic program. I actually have a hybrid child, which is a boy. He came to me for the first time back in 2018. I think I saw him through
Uh-oh.
We'll get Althea back.
Okay. Yeah.
She'll pop back in there.
She's going in and out of dimensions.
Yes.
Wait, start over.
Back. You're back.
You got to 2018 and I was so fascinated, and then you popped into a different realm.
Yeah, so we in South Africa, so I usually give this like a pre-thing. They cut the power off for a few hours in the whole country, and this was in between the generator coming on and the power, and it's at random times. But anyway, so back in 2018, I had this deep visitation in meditation from this boy, this child that came to me, and I saw his face, and he was actually kind of like, his skin was a little bit more gray, his eyes were a little bit bigger, he had dark hair, and I just felt, he didn't speak to me, but we communicated telepathically, and I just felt the most intense, absolute, unconditional love within my heart center, and I actually cried, and he said to me, I'm actually like your child. And then I went back in recollection, and I had this memory that I was taken up when I was about 3 months old. They had taken some genetic information from me, which obviously was used, many, many years after that. So from my understanding, this program, there's many different programs, but a lot of them are so that then when there is, full third dimensional density.
Oh.
Oh no.
Okay, we'll catch her again. Man, I'm so intrigued.
I know, me too.
Guys, am I back?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, where did I get to?
The genetic program.
Yeah, the
Oh,
genetic.
yes. Okay. It's funny because I keep on talking and then all of you are like frozen. And I'm like, no, but is it working? So basically, the genetic program, so that these beings will then, when we have full third dimensional density contact and disclosure, when they come down, they will look more similar to us, and we, like humans in general, won't be like so scared of them, if it makes sense. So there's a lot of them
Right.
up there, again, from my experience and from my seeing and from my understanding. There is no contract for me to be part of this child's life, if it makes sense, but it is obviously a part of me. So that was kind of like my experience on a tangible third dimensional density level of hybridization program, which obviously is different from what would be your soul hybrid, which exactly like Sarah was saying, which would be the souls that are embodied here in the now. So yeah, I just wanted to share that in case, you know, some people have had these encounters as well and whatnot.
Mhm.
There's a lot of us out there who have had these contracts, and it might seem maybe a little bit scary or whatnot, but it's actually like part of a beautiful program of kind of like immersion and becoming this kind of like rainbow community where we are all part of each other.
Wow.
And you know, a lot of people are part of this program, actually, believe it or not. And the way you can kind of tell if you're part of this program for most people is they do have dreams about their children. And then as soon as they wake up, they remember, I saw these eyes and they looked like mine, and they were like a younger child's eyes. Or, you know, they're taken to visit these children a lot of the times. Most of them are not allowed to remember this, but they'll get kind of glimpses of their children upon waking. But a lot of it is just erased from their memory so that it doesn't upset them. But it's part of a beautiful program.
That's so fascinating you said about the dreams, because my mom had dreams about what I would look like before I was born. And she said it was always somebody who was passed who would bring me to her in the dream and then say, you know, this is your daughter. This is what, and she freaked out. She thought I was going to die or something, you know. And then she said that there was always somebody who'd passed and that they said that, you know, this is what she's going to look like. And I was like 9 months old in the dream. So she said, when I was 9 months old, I looked exactly did in that dream. But yeah, I think that that's part of it, and I think that's a mixture, because in my case, my mom and like Ishmael as well, our moms were taken while they were pregnant. So stuff happened while they were pregnant, and then we're born with all of these extraordinary gifts, and even taken even as children by government or some entity program. And, you know, when I was like 5 years old, I was taken. So I think probably some kind of program. Now, was the government involved, or was it ET, or was it both? I don't know, because I don't remember.
Were there machine guns in the background on the ships or no?
So I was taken to an installation in the middle of a desert at 5 years old. I would leave for school at 5 a.m, and my mom would be already at work, so she didn't know. And I'd fall asleep on the bus, you know, till we got to the installation. I'd go into the building and then I'd blacked. I don't remember anything. And I'd wake up on the bus going home at the end of the school day. So I never went to school. I was just taken to this installation. And this happened for a good few months before my mom figured it out and like took us left.
Wow, you need a good regression.
Exactly.
Wow.
I'm really interested to see, like, did they do anything, or were they just studying me? But because of that, I've had an FBI number ever since I was a kid. So they've been tracking me. I don't know why. But every time I died after that, I got my second embodiment, my second piece back, fragment of my soul. So I don't know what they could have found out, because I had only had one piece at the time. And it wasn't until a year or a couple of years after that, I got the second piece, and then the third, and then the fourth. So
it's interesting, because not to go off topic too much, but I had this client who had so many abilities when she was born, and she used to be able to breathe a little bit under the water. I'm serious. And she could float a little bit when she would move downstairs, and her abilities were growing so strong. All of a sudden, she had this freak horseback riding accident where she fell and directly hurt the very back of her head, causing her to lose the abilities. And her subconscious said that those abilities were too dangerous for her to have. that she was drawing too much attention. So they had to take them away until the time was right.
Wow.
Interesting.
Bumps everywhere.
What?
Right.
Oh.
I know. And I could be totally wrong, but I think that like living in this matrix and this density, like we, you know, people that know that they have the ability to, you know, access these higher, I guess, abilities, these higher density levels of consciousness to where they are manipulating certain things in the physical where it would attract attention. Like there's definitely something that needs to be proceeded with caution, because I guess we're not quite at the level in humanity's consciousness where we would be able to, I should say, not a lot of people I feel like are moving closer to being able to accept it and understand it, but yeah, those agencies and stuff, unfortunately, they have way too much interest. So that makes total sense that, like, you know, she would have a,
but yet again, she was so protected. That's the thing. The people on the ground, the people that come in, like Nina or other people that remember that they are these type of people, they have so much light protection, like a lot more than we probably understand. So yeah, there is a dark side that's aware, but there's also the light side that's aware too.
Yeah.
It's probably part of her contract to have that accident. Like she probably pre-contracted the experience to then remember them again or move through it in a different way.
Yeah. Because at 9, I had to be given some kind of like blue flame shield from Archangel Michael. And given that to essentially protect myself, because I was getting a lot of like psychic attacks as a child. And so I was thinking like, gosh, I really went through a lot of trauma as a child, but like, I imagine if I didn't have that, how much more it would have been, like how much I would have attracted, you know? So that's really interesting that you said that. And you made a good point, because yeah, it could have been really dangerous, like even more so than it was.
I do see clients where I see both sides, where they'll come to me and they'll say, like, I had this horseback riding accident, for example, and I hit my head and I used to be able to do all these things and now I can't. And like now it'd be like years later and they'd be a teen, let's say. And when I follow back their, you know, what happened, what caused them to lose their abilities, I'll find that horseback riding piece where they fell off and hit their head. And then I can call forward their guides or the beings that are supposed to come in and help protect or reactivate certain things for them to be able to do those pieces, or find a missing soul piece, or like find a missing something to link it all back together and like reactivate it all. So I've seen that side. And I've also seen the side where I've had clients come and I'm like, this isn't safe. Like your guides are like looking at me concerned and like, we need to kind of close it off and put it in a box and seal it until you're ready and mature enough to understand what the gifts mean and how to use them, and have a mentor and like, oh, you know, just be fully responsible, because with having gifts, you also have responsibilities like the daily hygiene and cleansing and, you know, just being aware of your surroundings and other people's energy. There's so much that goes into it for, you know, somebody that's 10 or under. It's really a lot to take on. So yeah, I've definitely seen to collaborate with what you're saying, Sarah. Like I've seen both sides of that as well.
I've had clients actually go into psychosis because of how developed their gifts were, and because they couldn't handle them, and because they couldn't, you know, so it's like, it's a thing, and it's actually been happening quite a bit recently because of the level of the vibrational frequency rising and the polarity and the psychic attacks and whatnot. So it's really important to, yeah, obviously no one gets given anything that they can't handle, like it's part of the journey, part of the lesson and whatnot, but it's really important, you know, this is why we are also here to tell people kind of like, you know, do the shielding, do the work. You can't just walk into this embodiment to an extent. You can't just walk into it a little bit carelessly, because it's really, really need to put specific things in place, and obviously following your heart and intuitively and whatnot. But especially when you start to get to a level that you're more of an adult and you're like, oh, I have these abilities, let me start working on people. Yes, but also at the same time, make sure that you're gridded, make sure that you're protected, make sure that you're working with integrity. Because I've seen this in a lot of people, actually, more than what we would like to think, where they open up or they go to like these events or they have these huge activations, and all of a sudden now they can't handle it, and then they enter like psychosis, delusion, they end up into like psych wards and things like that. Now, I don't obviously want to instill fear or anything in anyone, but I'm just saying, being mindful of your abilities and how to use them, and using them really for the highest alignment. I think that makes a big difference, because if you have abilities and you're using them for, you know, ego-based and whatnot, then that's the kind of vibration you're going to attract, and you want to really try to stay away from that and be, you know, helpful like on a collective level.
What you guys are saying is so true, because I've had clients that come in and one of their questions is, can I open my third eye now? And their subconscious says, no way, no way. You think you want this, but if your, you know, third eye or yours, you know, was completely open, then you wouldn't be able to handle it. So it's just like what you guys were saying. Like slowly you build up to that over time.
Yeah. And it does. There's a frequency that goes with that. And I remember when mine first started to like really expand and open, different beings are near me and they were taking me places. I remember they gave me this helmet and they're like, you have to wear this helmet. And I'm like, what, why? And they're like, it's going to be so much pressure in your head and it's going to be so much burning in your head. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm always doubting everything. Like, I'm not sure. I think I'm fine. You don't need any help. And then they're like, they kind of like came close and I was like, ah. And they're like, yeah, put the helmet on. And I'm like, okay, I believe you now, right? So there's definitely, like you're saying, that you what you think you might want, there's precautions to take in that as well.
And it's so funny you just said that, because, and just like what Althea was saying, that these beings keep saying that eventually they're going to be living amongst us, but we can't handle their frequency yet. We just can't.
That's right.
And when people are around them, they describe like such a frequency shift. Sometimes it's really difficult to be in the presence of one of these other beings. It doesn't really feel good to you because you're in such a different vibration. So it's building up over time in order to be able to handle being amongst these beings that I think they're trying to create.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I remember when I had my interview a few months back with Ishmael, he was talking about how, you know, after essentially when we're fully integrated into fifth density consciousness, the people that are, you know, already operating in those higher densities are going to have these gifts, these like superhuman abilities. They're beyond gifts, they're natural innate abilities that are encoded in us, obviously. And he's like, yeah, we're essentially the ones that are operating in these higher densities are going to present like, and it's a classic thing with like ancient Egypt and stuff, with like, you know, they're gonna look like superheroes, they're gonna look like gods, but the difference is, instead of being worshipped, we're going to teach them and like live amongst people that are, you know, climbing that vibrational ladder. So it's definitely in our trajectory to be in a state where we all collectively can operate with people that are fully embodied in their, you know, powers and their activated self, you know. So I think that, yeah, we're getting closer for sure. And I think once humanity reaches a pretty much kind of like a vibrational threshold, when the collective consciousness is in a bandwidth where everyone can openly accept and invite that there is so much more to learn and to practice and energy to harness, then I think, you know, this time around it will be something that is like it'll be so looked highly upon. It's not going to be something like, you know, oh, the gods are here. It's going to be like, oh, let's learn, you know, where we are students and there are teachers, or we are, you know, it's just this beautiful symbiotic relationship, which is my understanding of it, but we'll see. I mean, doesn't that, right? That makes sense. Does that, have you guys heard that? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
At it as like gods anymore, like you said, because we're getting to that unity consciousness, and we, in the positions that we have, because we're empowering people, we're lifting people up, not putting people down. And that's past, I think that there was a lot of this like class system, and then, well, I can do this and you can't. Instead, it's, I can do this and you can do this, and see how they complement each other, see how they work symbiotically, and how together as a team, we are achieving great, wondrous things. So.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the
sovereign
empowerment that we are giving people is the single most important thing, because people need to start really understanding that they are their own master co-creator beings of their reality. And it's the same with these high vibrational frequency beings, like our guides, our higher versions of selves. They don't want us to worship them. They want to help us and assist us, but they want us to understand that we are our own gods, and we are our own master co-creators of our reality. And as we navigate this process and we access these high vibrational frequency and lower density spaces, we get closer to them. But a lot of us who are doing the work, we are already anchoring in crystalline structure within our light body and within our system. So it's kind of like this embodiment of being anchored within the third dimensional density and reality, but living in kind of like a 5D embodiment. And it's very interesting, because I had this conversation with a client recently, and I was just explaining to her how even if you have a very, very 3D job and you work in an office or whatever it is, and a 9 to 5, or whatever it would be your standard idea of a 3D job, you can really still be in a 5D vibrational frequency as you go into your 3D job, because it's about how you feel and how you're living through your gratitude, through your heart, through your compassion, and through the self-empowerment and the sovereignty. So it's kind of like working towards that all together.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I kind of see it in the hybrid children. I kind of see it in the hybrid children. So my son, who is just turned 4, and my 2-year-old that just turned 2, I see that play out. Like my 4-year-old easily could do for my 2-year-old. He could be like, let me do it. I'll help you. Like, I'm going to do it for you. But instead, I see the 2-year-old looking at him and being like, oh, that, like, I can see the activation that the 4-year-old creates for that 2-year-old to be like, wow, he just jumped and walked and then he like skipped. I'm going to try that. Like, he is empowering him by just being able to watch what's happening, being able to be near his frequency. And it's so neat, because I think that's sort of how us intuitives, or as light workers, how as beings are operating at this point. We share our activation stories, or we share examples of different things that are taking place, or different, bits that we're getting from different clients or adventures. And the collective is like, oh, like, wait a second, I just remembered something. And so that empowerment, we can feel that rising up, and the frequency moving forward.
Absolutely. That really is. It's exciting. It's super exciting. I guess we'll jump on to, okay, so can we move into briefly like embodiments?
Yeah,
a little
absolutely.
bit. Is that cool? Okay, awesome. Because yeah, we got the genetic hybrids, we got the hybrid souls. What's like, for clarity, what would an embodiment be considered?
Mina, did you say that you have experienced that?
Well, I'm a hybrid soul, I would say, because I've integrated all my previous incarnations. But I always say, or I think that an embodiment is more when a higher dimensional version of yourself that you can integrate in your current life as an ET being. So it's kind of like you're embodying, so to speak, that higher density version of yourself. So at least that's how I understand it. And so it could happen later. It doesn't happen in the beginning of life. Like a hybrid soul, I was born with those incarnations integrated. versus an embodiment can happen later on. It could happen because of an event or an agreement, or you're taken and you're worked on by ETs, like all of that. So that's how I understand it.
Which is
how my
full
embodiment.
fragment embodiment or actual full embodiment of a higher version of self.
Mm-hmm. Now that is how my embodiment happened. I was worked on, and then each time that I have a new embodiment or an embodiment changes, I have these dreams, and the dreams keep me awake. It's a lucid dream where some sort of catastrophe is happening, and then I stay awake because I don't want to crash my car, or I did crash my car and have to seek out supports. And I know now that the beings are there working on me, and that's why I'm having those types of dreams. And they'll work and add things, take things out, add different programming, all sorts of different things. They'll tell me also how many days, and it's pretty clear and laid out and consented to. And then afterwards, after everything kind of integrates, I'll have an embodiment, whether it's an Arcturian being, a Lyran being, or a Lyrian being, an angelic. They're all different ones based on whatever tasks are coming forward, part of the mission you're kind of working on, or whatever pieces are happening. And when that happens, my light language becomes more like them. So I'll have more cat-like purring and different things coming out. But it's usually specific to a specific task that needs to take place, or knowledge that I need to get from this individual. And now the difference is I now realize that I don't use my own energy. So when I'm in session, I can talk to the client, and then I feel myself like it's not a daydream. I'm still present, but it's working through me. I can feel that embodiment happening, and the language coming through, and the work that's happening. I'm just kind of going through the motions of it, but being there, but not doing the work. So a lot of that energy work that happens in session, I don't have my own energy depleted from that.
Yeah, it's very similar with me as well. I've got like 12, 15 different versions of me that help and come and assist and come in. And it's the same when I do astral work. Like I'll have 10 people message me on the same night saying, oh, you were here doing this, you were there doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of integrating parts of the multidimensional self and your multidimensionality. For me, I started, I would say, I think back in 2018, 2019, when I started consciously being aware that work was being done on me. I've stopped asking questions because there's just like every 2-3 days or so, there's something that happens and they do some work with this and that and whatnot. I've learned that if I need to know, the information will come to me. So when it comes to embodiment, I obviously can feel when my system is getting upgraded, but I feel like that I've got embodiment in every action and every moment and everything that I do, because I feel consistently divinely guided by my higher version of self. So this comes back down to the being grounded, right? So for me, embodiment is being present in the now. Doesn't matter how many versions you have of you, it's still your you human that is navigating the experience, that is navigating the polarity, and that is learning kind of like the lessons. These higher aspects of us are incredible and amazing, especially when we're doing work at a certain level, because exactly as Natalie said, like, I mean, I'm working on someone, I'm calling in like my whole team, and then they are all helping me on different levels, aspects, plus I tend to call in the team of the person that I'm working on as well. So now there's two teams working together. So it's not actually me, like, yes, I'll be doing the work, I'll be, but this is how I can work maybe on 10 people in a day and not get, exhausted or drained and whatnot. So I think when it comes down to embodiment, even on just a more human level, what people can do is really just be more present, because when you're more present and you're more anchored in the now, then you're able to see all the different possible timelines and then make the choices that are for your highest alignment, so that you're not too busy worrying about the past, or you're not too busy worrying about the future. You're anchored, you're embodied in the now. And especially for us as channelers, like, you want to be very present when you're channeling, you want to be embodied, you want to make sure that you are here, for whatever it is that's coming through. I mean, some people do trance channeling, and that's great as well. Doesn't work for me. I need to be present in my body. I need to be here. And I need to know kind of like what's coming and going without having attachment or wanting to control, because we are in this perpetual state also of surrender, because, if you want to be in a you need to kind of like surrender to, the divine will and be in a space of trust. But I think for the general people out there, if you want to embody more parts and aspects of you, work on the grounding, work on the root, work on the being present and the being in the now.
I would just to add for comparison. So I also have the similar experience of when I am embodying a higher aspect of myself, but because I'm a hybrid soul, I do use my energy. So I will use, like when I'm, let's say, trail running and I'm using my cat-like reflexes to speed down a hill, or I'm seeing in the dark, or I'm using like these abilities that are integrated in my actual DNA. I have to use and expend my energy to use them. So I'll get tired. I use some of these, really, really big abilities and feel like fatigued afterward when I do have an embodiment. So I do need to recover.
And it's easier these days now to actually embody these higher consciousness and other versions of yourself. I noticed a shift in consciousness because many people that do what I do, they noticed that there was a big change in people's minds or people's way that they would do hypnosis. Like it's kind of started around 2012. I started doing past life regressions and this type of work in 2009, but around 2012, it seemed like people were going into these deep states of hypnosis, but feeling more awake and aware. There was a big shift. And anybody that does the work that I do noticed it. So before they used to be so unconscious and they wouldn't remember their sessions. Now people can be in very deep states of hypnosis, but know everything that's going on. And the reason is we're becoming these higher consciousness. We're like merging with them. So it used to be so separate. And now we're becoming like these other versions of ourselves. So people, like you guys said, people can really tune into these other versions. And I love what you guys were just sharing. It's really fascinating to me.
That's literally the definition of multidimensional. You're taking those compressive spheres and compressing them down into one.
I mean, I do think that to an extent, we're not really going to be able to achieve full soul fragment retrieval in this lifetime, just because our physical vessel might not be able to handle, the enormous capacity of what would be that. But because we are in a space where also the 3D and 4D are like completely overlapping, then it's, as Sarah was saying, like I've seen it even in my own experience. The way I used to work energetically a year or two ago is different to how I'm working now, which is probably going to be different how I'll work next year. Because we're evolving and expanding as the time kind of goes by and becomes more fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I find that my stuff comes in phases. So I'll have a whole bunch of clients come in and they have all this sorrow and grief stuff going on. And then the subconscious stuff that I access is very similar in be how I access it, what the information is coming back. So I find that themes kind of come, and a lot of times I connect that with the moon cycles, with the different alignment of planets. Different things are easy to access during different phases and times. And so different conscious levels kind of raise up, and I'm like, oh, all my clients are having foot problems that are connected to grief, that are connected to like Lemuria Atlantis stuff, which is connected to their, pains that are manifesting in their bodies right now. And so like these different themes tend to come through.
And just like you said, there's certain planetary alignments that totally allow for the, communication to be easier and healing. Definitely. Like the solstice or the equinox, the veil is thinner. So the communication with your star family can be a lot easier if you just focus on it.
Even just new moons and full moons are a great time to communicate, but just as not. Yeah, I see the same. I see themes in the collective. Like there'll be a week where everyone is clearing the ancestral mother wound. There'll be another week where everyone is clearing through their sinuses for the third eye and the hearing. Like it's quite interesting when you work on a lot of people. You start to see these themes. Yeah.
I love that, because a lot of things that are happening with our bodies are actually a good thing. People get so upset. Oh no, I've got, this sinus issue. But just like you said, Althea, you might be clearing something through it. So it's beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that everything that we experience that, from third density eyes is like an ailment, right, is just actually serving you, on the back end. That's also why, in my experience with working with, plant medicine and plant teachers, and no matter what it is, it's not like a fun thing. Like, it's definitely like, working with like Combo or pretty much any other plant teacher that really shows you and serves you. And, it's always like a kind of a grueling experience. So kind of same thing in my perception. It's kind of like the same thing when the body goes through somewhat of like a painful experience, or like it's just about shedding and purging, whether it's physically or energetically. It's, they all definitely serve their purpose, no doubt.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple questions in here. So I'm just gonna throw this really quick out to the audience. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll see if we can take a few of those. But in the meantime, there's also been a couple people that have wanted to know, how can they identify if they are, either a genetic or a hybrid, or experience embodiments. Like, what are some of the I guess you could say symptoms, or some things that you could look out for to kind of identify with that, to, because I think that we all experience, especially in the ascension process, we're all experiencing heavy energies that are unfamiliar, or that are unfamiliar to our past, but might be like familiar on like a much deeper level that we empathize and resonate with and feel connected to, but we can't always like pinpoint it. I guess I'm speaking from personal experience. But I guess, like, how can people identify if they have these genetic connections and whatnot?
I would just say, from a hybrid soul standpoint, for adults, I would say it's not as common. So you would probably know by now, if you've exhibited signs throughout your entire life of gifts, you've had encounters, or you have genetic markers, stuff like that. But to recognizing kids, now it's becoming more common, because the newer kids coming out are becoming more of those hybrid souls. So really just pay attention to what they're saying. They're going to speak like an old soul. They're going to know things beyond their years. They're going to say things that you might think are odd, that kids shouldn't know. They're going to do things, and they're going to say they can do things. Just pay attention, because they know.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot of times they get so upset about anything that happens to animals, just any kind of cruelty, or watching something on the TV where there's cruelty involved. They just literally can't take it. I mean, if, you might be able to tell that you are somebody that did come in from a different place, if everything here just seems so foreign to you, if when you were younger, you looked at the sky and you said, I want to go home, those are kind of clues that you might, be someone from a different realm, just here to raise the frequency, but you're really not from here. And you'll notice that you just never really understood like gravity, things like that, or eating even seems foreign, and the like you said, Mina, the other type of hybrid where you or a combination of the both, where you have different abilities than other people, where you've been contacted.
Right.
Yeah,
it can also be very, sorry, go ahead, Althea.
Sorry, no, just something quick. For children, I've also seen, because I've seen this in a lot of clients of mine, I work with children quite a bit, and they will struggle to do like your standard normal things, like tidy up their room or cook and things like that, because and also be very, very sensitive. This, you can get it also in adults who, it's not as common, but I have encountered quite a few adults who've had more lifetimes off planet rather than here, and they tend to be very foreign to emotions like fear, anger, pain. They don't really understand why there is evil in the world, because they've had so many lives in these high vibrational frequency spaces that now they're here, and they also almost seem like, I know, because I had a phase in my life where I was also like, but like, I lived in all this light, like, why must I deal with like people backstabbing me? Do you know what I mean? I used to be very naive when I was younger, and then and then I became a little bit more like structured, if you know what I mean. And then also physical things like being double jointed, just like weird things that you can have in your body, sort of things. Vision, things with the vision that can be like compromised, or you can't see better in the dark, or things, or like teeth. Like some of them will have less less teeth because they are like the next step in the evolution. So there's quite a few things that I'm speaking from my own experience, because I have quite a few of those things, but I've seen them in clients and in children as well. So there are a few like physical things that can actually point in that direction.
Like astigmatism is actually the ability to see into different dimensions. When you understand how to use it, the shape of the eye is different for a reason. It's not an accident. It's not, a mistake.
Right.
Yeah. So I was actually very, very, very short-sighted. And I had been since I was like 8 years old, my whole life. And without wearing contacts and without my glasses, I wanted to have surgery like 6-7 years ago, and my guides actually said no, because my psychic vision still had to develop, and I could see through the construct without my glasses and without my contacts. Eventually then, like about 2 years ago, when my vision, I was like, okay guys, can I have my surgery now? I can see through the construct, I can tune in and out, I don't need to like not have the actual vision to stop me. And then they said, yes, it's fine, now you can be operated. But that, for example, like vision is very, very connected to, well, when I say vision, I mean looking to your psychic vision. So that's something to pay attention to as well.
It makes so much. Yeah.
Sorry.
Please. Oh, no, please go on, Nelly. No.
I feel like I'm interrupting everybody.
No.
So, yeah, what I had seen was my own kiddos, parenting them. And then one particular one, the 4-year-old, he's becoming walking, I guess, genetic hybrid. And what I've noticed is his ability to do things, or I should say lack of ability to do things, in terms of parenting him has been really difficult, because we'll say, okay, we're all going outside and we're all doing whatever. And he's like, I'm not. And I'm like, yeah, but we all are. And he's like, but I'm not. And I'm like, okay. So it looks defiant, but he's actually saying like, I have a need and I'm listening to my body and I'm not going outside because I need to stay inside. And like being in tuned and aware, I can understand that. But from societal, like being at school and things like that, it's much more difficult. And then that's where the labels come, and they're gifted or exceptional, or like just defiant and non-compliant, right? So it's some of those pieces are what I see, as well as the teens that I work with. They just parent-teen conflict is huge. Like the child isn't being non-compliant. They're actually having something in their body that resists them being able to do what you're asking them to do. I've also seen where they come back and reincarnate as the last lifetime or a lifetime, this parent was actually their child. And so they've come back this time and they're like adamant, no, I'm not doing that. And they're actually look like they're dictating how the family dynamics are going to work and parenting the other siblings in the home. And the mom's like, I've lost complete control of my house. And when I go in and look to see how I can like reshape and structure and resolve conflicts, I'm like, wow, this kid actually she's 12, but she's actually the parent here. And you've like abdicated your role, and then when I look past the veil, I'm like, oh, of course, this is where we find they were actually, the parent, and they did a really good job at doing it. And they've come here and they're still doing a really good job at it. So yeah, interesting, the dynamics on hybrid souls and hybrid genetic program children.
I love that.
I know. It's amazing. It makes, I was just going to say earlier, and even more so now, it makes so much sense. I mean, it makes so much sense when you actually lay it out. I can relate. I can relate. My daughters. What's that?
They're tough to handle, right? They're like stallions, man. They're like, we're going. Stop, slow down, come back.
Next level.
Then when the energy hits them, they're gone. And so, yeah, it's crazy.
Totally. No, it's I'm grateful that we're at the place where we can accept it, and accept it and use it to benefit the next generation and the next generation, next generation. I think that obviously if people were as open and accepting of this information as they were, like, 2 generations ago, just imagine. I mean, that obviously wasn't the right place, right time, but it's exciting to know that this is accepted, at least in the community that we operate in, and it's going to be more accepted in all different types of in social networks all around the world, to where there's not going to be this immediate desire to like label and be like, oh, this is what's quote unquote like wrong, or this is what's going on, or take these, which is like terrible. Obviously everybody knows, like, they go straight to like, oh, take these pills, and like, it's just unfortunately, I've seen throughout growing up so many beautiful people that I've befriended and become like family to me, that from a very, very young age. I mean, friends that were like from like 10 to like 15 years old, and then you see how they progressed over 30 or over 15, the next 15 years or whatever, and their parents put them on these pharmaceutical medications and stuff at a young age, while they were in these like highly sensitive stages of their development, and they were totally just total starseeds. Like, they were dialed in. Like, we would have like really like profound, meaningful conversation stuff, like before it was really a thing, and just kind of to see where, and obviously I believe not to go the opposite way, but I think that is all part of kind of suppressing that DNA and stuff, hoping to just like flood them with these. But whatever, it's cool that we're at a different place now.
That does raise a piece where so my genetic hybrid 4-year-old, he was seen by 2 doctors, and he was only 3 at the time, and they were like, you need to medicate him. Like, this is not safe. He's not good. It needs to be medicated. And what we found was he was actually sensitive to food dye. So he has a lot of sensitivities to foods that he can and can't eat. So that also is another attribute that I see with the hybrid, just my kid, that I can speak to personally, that he can't have like a juice box where, it's got the food dye or candy, or even some of the hidden dyes where they put yellow into his like just regular milk products, right? So
wow.
It's just crazy sensitive. And it is uncontrollable. He will run laps through my house and say, Mom, I can't stop. I'm crazy. I don't know what to do. And it's like not something he can control.
Wow. It's probably a good thing that he can't take these things, so now you can make sure he doesn't, take them, and he'll be a lot better off. Because just like a lot of people are developing certain allergies, which their higher selves don't want them to eat these foods, so there's like a reason for the allergies, because it's affecting their vibration and their life. So
I find that with food, it comes in phases. There's some general standard things that I really can't tolerate, like meat or fish or, dairy and things like that. But I'll have phases where it'll be like a whole week where I'm like craving watermelon, and then I'm integrating lifetime where, I don't know, with some watermelon cell or whatever. I've been seeing it in clients as well. Like, they'll go in phases where they can't tolerate gluten. But I do think that I released a video about this today, as well, with the concept of alcohol, that if your baseline vibrational frequency is very high, you can really transmute anything that you put into your body, because from an energetic perspective, you're higher than anything on a physical. You can transmute it, you can convert it. Obviously, if it's like every now and then, if you then go out and start, eating like, a lot of rubbish stuff, then it's just going to lower your baseline vibration. But if your baseline vibration vibration is already quite high, and you're blessing your food and whatnot, then your body's going to actually just end up transmuting it. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's not like everyone who's eating like foods that have dyes or colorants or things like that, we're not all like getting them, and we're not all going to die from cancer. The programming that they're telling people that everyone's going to die from the food, like you're going to be able to transmute it. And that's kind of what's been happening with people as well. But exactly as Natalie said, like some things, if your kids, or if you really can't, then you mustn't. Following an intuitive diet is always the best way to go, I think.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like while you're integrating something, your body is absolutely working super hard. It's expending that energy in its cells to work on that. So if you think of it like when you go to a buffet and you're adding things to the plate, something's going to fall off. Like you can't sustain all that work. You have to be able to take something off and give yourself space and time to be able to let the integration happen. And so when you try to overpack it, you do end up with symptoms that come, like the overlapping symptoms, right? They start coming out because it's a sign that, hey, your system is just slow down. You need to slow down.
And it's good to listen to yourself, like to just listen deeply to yourself, because sometimes people are allergic to all different kinds of things. Oh my gosh, your cat, so cute. Like I had this client that came in for a session because she wanted to lose like 60 pounds. And her subconscious said that she was severely allergic to nuts. And then if she stopped eating nuts, everything would just leave her body. It was just inflammation. So, she never really... she didn't know how to tune into herself. She didn't really know how to listen to herself, but it's a skill. It's something that we can all do just by being quiet with ourselves. And like Althea said earlier, being present with yourself.
Absolutely.
I find that a lot of people who are ungrounded put on weight in the lower part of their bodies. All of a sudden they're putting on weight around their belly, on their legs, on their bum, and they don't understand why. It's the physical trying to keep you anchored. So it's really important, to listen, because if you're not grounding yourself, then, and I've seen it in a lot of people, and then all of a sudden they start grounding, and then the weight drops off. Yeah, because now you're being more embodied, you're keeping your soul where it's supposed to be, because you're actively grounding and anchoring. And I think everyone needs to actively ground and anchor, like consistently, because unfortunately, like because of societal construct and how we get brought up and things like that, and how we are living, like people are so busy worrying about the future or the past, that they're not they're not present in the now. And that's really, guys, you don't have to do anything to become psychic or raise your vibration. You just need to be grounded. You ground yourself, and then everything aligns, everything else comes to you, and then you start to understand more of what direction it is that you need to go. So it's quite simple, actually. It's not about really doing too much. It's about unlearning and embodying, like we said earlier.
100%. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I wonder if it makes sense to do some grounding, or to do, we talked about light language, but that might be just a good segue. I know we wanted to wrap it up around the hour, but we wanted to also get some of the light language in for everybody as well. And questions, I don't know.
I was just going to say, we're nearing that time where we might want to wrap up. I just kind of wanted to open it up to you guys, and, whatever you all resonate with. Do you want to do like some grounding light language?
I can open with some rooting, and then you guys can maybe take over with some light language. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
So as we close our eyes and anchor into our body, finding a comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, we breathe in light. With every exhale, we release all that no longer serves us. And as we start to relax our body, relax our system, relax our energy field, we focus on our root chakra, red, expanding, and we imagine roots going down from the root into the earth, through the layers of the crust, through the soil, deeper and deeper and deeper into the earth. As we ground, we anchor, we embody. Deeper and deeper and deeper as we reach the core of the earth, where we find platinum white silver light. And we start bringing that light up through the roots, through the layers of the soil, as we bring up all the ancestral wisdom of Mother Gaia, all the knowledge, all the history. We bring it up, and we anchor it within our root chakra. Mrayo tukure re atira krik natruk narai sit narayet kurwat kriana re raya tria siesurwat krien mram ranarei.
Kunakit kusmatain utus makata kumayana kumaitu kunalunya tumasanaka kusana tinakan tusana maka tumaitinai kunata kusa ukamaiti sana atasina atismata kuna grounding, anchoring in all of these light codes. And we're just going to pull that energy down, that wonderful energy that Altia just brought in. Una kaisna atuma, hina atasna akitamata, kuna kumaitina, kusnaka, kuna, kusa matasna hatesa.
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was really great. Thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
And like so clicking.
Oh.
So there's just a little bit of clicking that's going to happen in here. It's just right in the center here, Earth.
Ntarro tukoroishena takria treo tukoroishera takratre karaisera takre kre naratrie tokoro triet naratrie ismaraishera takie naran reo tukoroishena taka tierra tre atekoroisera takaratre naratrokoroishena takri aseta tre eterokoro triet naran reo terokoroishera takie tak reo tukumra Naya shieta krasieta creo to korotiet nara yet marea shirata.
Joy, akadaya, noi kakadaya, naya akadaya, kukukaya, naya, pukadaya, naya, wonoya day, shio, tikadaya, kukaya, naya, hukukaya, naya, joy. Just feeling all that energy, North Pole to South Pole, it's moving, making sure that it's able to expand. Quiet, kadaya, noi, kia, yeah, noya, kia, quiet, noya, kadaya, naya, hupoya, naya. Yeah, joy today. Boy, today. Boy.
All right, we're just pulling that energy back down. Pulling it from above down to your chakra, all the way into your throat, down into your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral, and your roots, grounding into Mother Earth. She's beautiful.
Thank you guys.
Mhm.
That was
Thank you.
amazing.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
What a
guys.
wonderful way to close it out. Thank you so much.
And
You're
thank
most
you
welcome.
everybody.
Thank you.
So much love. Like
Thank you.
just the most love from my heart to all four of yours. And obviously thank you for everybody that tuned in and joined us. It's a pleasure to share this cyberspace with you. And yeah, we look forward to staying connected and collectively building and growing and being there for each other all in our ascension experiences and our ascension journey. Excuse me, I'm like all chilled out now. Like,
And thank you, Dave, for hosting us and asking the questions and being able to hold space with us. Very much in love.
oh,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
my honor, my pleasure. And yeah, for those of you that tuned in, I'll make sure and put everyone's usernames. And so if you want to reach out to anybody, it'll be in the live caption. So
Thank you.
awesome. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.